Mic check, mic check. I got a quick question for y'all. Do y'all hate pollen as much as I do? Because I absolutely can't stand this. Welcome back to the channel, and this is Flipping PCs for Profit. And today, it's actually March 23rd, which means we're actually one step closer to getting rid of all this pollen. Now, this build behind me is worth right under $1,000. If you guys are curious on how much I personally spent on it, stay to the end of the video and leave a like. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Now, before we actually dive into the specs, the benchmarks, and all the little details about this PC, I went shopping online and in person. Let's take a look at what I bought. Now, this is one of my first purchases from AliExpress, and this here is a motherboard that I was able to get for a total of $48.49. But it did come with some setbacks. As you see, it only has 2 RAM slots, and I'm not too sure what's the maximum capacity that the RAM can intake. It only has 1 PCIe slot, and is missing a CMOS battery, as you can see. It does come with a SATA cable and an I/O shield, but I do believe it is missing onboard Wi-Fi, so I would have to buy a Wi-Fi adapter as well. But a lot of those things are pretty inexpensive, but it's a pretty clean looking motherboard, and it's going to go great with an all-white build. So I was lucky enough to score this bundle deal on my local Facebook marketplace, and this is the CPU, RAM, and motherboard combo. The CPU is definitely a Ryzen 7 2700X. Comes with 16 gigs of Vengeance Pro RAM clocked at 3200 megahertz, and this motherboard is a B450F Rose Strix Gaming. Next, I was able to purchase this $150 2070 Super all-white triple fan GPU. Looks amazing. This is gonna look great in the next all-white build. And last but not least is this triple fan GPU that I got for a total of $60, and this is the 1070 Ti 8GB. As you can see, it is a triple fan, and it looks amazing. I love the gigabyte versions of these. I don't know what that smear is, but we're not gonna talk about that. Look how beautiful this card is. All right, y'all, so it's been a while. Today's actually April 12th, and it's around 3 p.m. right now. I believe when I started this video, it was around March 22nd or March 23rd. I can't remember exactly the day. But it's been a while, and that is because I just came back from vacation with my girlfriend. Now, me and my girlfriend did go down to the beautiful Cabo San Lucas, where we stayed at the all-inclusive resort, where it was the Rio Santa Fe, I believe that was called. I'll put a picture up now. But the Rio Santa Fe is a beautiful resort, all-inclusive food and drinks. We had a great time. But did you guys know that there's a body of water called the Gulf of California? I didn't know that. Maybe because I'm in Georgia and I don't think about that type of stuff. But let me know down in the comments. Did you guys know that it was called the Gulf of California? You learn something new every day. But I do actually have a good news. When I came back from vacation, someone DM'd me on Facebook Marketplace, and they was interested in buying my 2080 Super build. Now, I originally had it listed for like $800 on Java. So if you go on java.gg, the prices range from like $650 to easily over $1,000, just depending on what they have in it, what's going on. But the medium range was like $700 to $800. All right, y'all. Today is April 6th. It's around 4 p.m. And I did just sell that 2080 Super build. It had an i5 10 with 16 gigs of RAM, and I sold it for a total of $725. And I'm about to meet up with the buyer at a local marketplace. Now that $725 does give me a profit around $245. I'll put the number on the screen, but I think it's around $245. I'm pretty sure. I bought a GPU stand for it as well because I saw the sag from the 2080 Super leaning a little bit, and I didn't want any issues down the line. So it is getting sold. Like I said, I'm meeting up with him at Walmart. So let's see how this goes. All right, it is now 5:03, and that PC has finally sold. That was pretty cool. Here is the money. Like I said, I sold it for $725. He was able to get the money. He paid in cash. Everything went well. So yeah, that gave me a good, decent profit. Now I'm on to the next build. And now for the parts list for this build. This is the Sama SV02 case. Comes with 2 intake fans, and they are reverse blade and 1 exhaust fan. Has a bunch of airflow for the PSU with this mesh front. And you also can place fans here at the bottom of the case as well. And it comes with this GPU cable hole. Makes it a little convenient to connect the GPU. And now if you turn around back, as the first thing you see is the RGB connector here that it comes with, which is always a great touch. And it also has, you know, all the screws for the motherboard, PSU, etc., etc. But the bottom of this has a ton of holes I wanted to point out for airflow for the power supply, which is always a good thing. You can make more room by taking out that hard drive cage that no one uses anymore. So I like this case a lot. And for the motherboard going in this build is the Gigabyte Z590 UD AC. And this is a LGA 1200 socket motherboard. And for the processor that's going in this build is this i5 11400F. This is a 6-core 12-thread processor. And keeping the processor cool, I'm going to use this Thermaltake Aqua Elite 360 White V3. I also use this in my last build as well. And for storage, I'm going with this 1TB silicone power Gen 4 M.2. And giving this system its power is this Apevia 600 watt 80 plus gold. And I hope I said that name correctly. Next is the RAM I was able to get for Christmas, so it was actually free. This is the RGB Pro Vengeance, 32 gigabytes, clocked at 3600 megahertz. And last but certainly not least is the video card. And this is the EVGA 3070 that I was able to get off Facebook Marketplace. Here's the finished build. I did try some black and white cable extensions. Let me know down in the comments if you guys like the way this looked, but I think the build came out pretty fantastic. Now, the price tag I personally paid to get this system built was a total of $460.23. And the biggest part of the deal I was able to get was that 3070 for a total of $150. And normally around on eBay and Amazon, you'll pay around $320 for it. So that was a major $150 deal I was able to get. And the rest of it, I was able to get the RAM for free. And the power supply came from a bundle deal that I already made money off of, so I didn't charge anything for it. But everything else is really marketplace value. Outside of the motherboard, I got that for $40. I think that motherboard goes for around a little bit over $100. Yeah, on eBay you'll pay around $120. So those are some pretty big deals I was able to get: the graphics card, the motherboard. And now we are on to the benchmarks. As you can see, I am playing Marvel Rivals, and this is in 1440p, and this system average around 104 frames per second. It did drop down to around 75, 80 frames per second, just depending on what was going on, but it was pretty consistent. So pretty good performance out this machine so far. Next on the list of benchmark tests was Fortnite. And as I'm shooting this opponent here, the system gave me around 110 frames per second, and he played pretty well, pretty smooth in 1440p gaming. So for an 8 gig card, it's doing its thing. And the last game I decided to test was Cyberpunk. As you can see, I used AMD Fidelity FX Super Resolution, and it had turned on ray tracing and pretty much kept all the every other settings at high. Clicked apply, and then I ran the benchmark test. Now, in the benchmark test, this PC ran very well for this very demanding AAA title game. It gave me around 90 frames per second, and for a card that only has 8 gigs of VRAM, it is running very well, and I think it's one of the best 8 gig cards out there. And we are finally at the end of the video. If you guys made it this far, leave a W in the comment section so I know you actually watched the video all the way through. But outside of that, leave a like. Subscribe to your boy if you're new, and I'll see you at the next build.